Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Gresti Fina Ramadhan. I'm student in English Education Department of Zainul Hasan Genggong Islamic University, Probolinggo. In this opportunity, I would like to explain about the material of sociolinguistics. The material is about language variations. Do you know what is language? Language is very important in social interaction. In interlinks good relation, people will use appropriate language that can be understood by others in particular event. Some communities have their own language that is used in daily activity which differ with other communities. Every community have different characteristics from their culture which determine the variety of language that they use. Some of them make uncommon language that only can be understood by the member of communities in order to keeping their attribute or keeping a secret. Family relation, workplace, friendship, and social class also can be cause of language varieties. The use of language varieties can be found in daily activities. A. Definition of language variation. In sociolinguistics, a language variety, also called a language, is a specific form of a language or language cluster. It is a general term for any distinctive form of a language or linguistic expression. This may include language, dialects, registers, style, or other form of language as well as a standard variety. The use of the word variety to refer to the different form avoids the use of the term language, which many people associate only with the standard language, and the term dialect, which is often associated with non-standard varieties, thoughts of a less prestigious of a courage than the standard linguists speak of both standard and non-standard varieties. Let's avoid the problem in ambiguous case of deciding whether two varieties are distinct language or dialect of a single language. B. Theory of language variation. Linguistics commonly use a language variety as a cover term for any of the overlapping subcategories of a language. Variation at the level of the lexicon such as slang, argot, jargon, register, and idiom are often considered in relation to particular styles or levels of formality, or also called register, but such use are sometimes discussed as varieties as well. Okay, the word is jargon. Jargon is a type of language that is used in a particular context and might not be well understood outside that context. The context is usually a particular occupation, or that is a certain trade, profession, or academic field. But any in-group can have jargon. The main trait that distinguishes jargon from the rest of a language is specific vocabulary, including some words specific to it, and often different sense or meanings of words that other groups would tend to take in another sense, therefore misunderstanding that communication attempt. Jargon is thus, or the technical terminology or characteristic idiom of a special activity or group. The second, argot. An argot from French, argot, is a sacred language used by various groups. For example, soulmates, outlaws, colleagues, among many others, to prevent outsiders from understanding their conversation. The term argot is also used to refer to the informal specialist vocabulary from a particular field of study, occupation, or hobby, in which it overlaps with jargon. Number 3 is register. In linguistics, a register is a variety of language used for a particular purpose or in a particular social setting. For example, when speaking in a formal setting, an English speaker may be more likely to use features or prescribed grammar than in an informal, such as pronouncing words ending in ing with a velar nasal instead or an alveolar nasal. For the example, walking, not walking. Choosing more formal words, for the example, father versus dad, child versus kid, and others, and refraining from using words considered non-standard, such as in, as with other types of language variation. There tends to be a spectrum of registers rather than a discrete set of obviously distinct varieties. Numerous registers could be identified with no clear boundaries between them. The fourth is slang. Slang denotes low linguistic register words, phrase, and usage that in their conversation special group like teenagers, musicians, or criminals favor over standard counterparts in order to establish group identity and exclude outsider in its earliest attested use. The word slang referred to the vocabulary of low or disreputable people. By the early 19th century, it was no longer exclusively associated with disreputable people, but continued to be applied to usage below the level of standard educated speech. The fifth is idiom. An idiom is a phrase or an expression that has a figurative or sometimes literal meaning. Categorized as formalized language, an idiom's figurative meaning is different from the literal meaning. There are thousands of idioms occurring frequently in all languages. It is estimated that there are at least 25,000 idiomatic expressions in the English language. Many idiomatic expressions in their original use were not figurative but had literal meaning. Also, sometimes the attribution of a literal meaning can change as the phrase becomes disconnected from its original roots, leading to a false etymology. Okay, that is about language variation. I think enough. The last I say, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.